Hi, friend.
Hi, friend.
And to the brave hearts listening out there, welcome to Permission to be Human. I'm Andrea.
And I'm Janelle.
Get ready for some real-time relationship woo and wisdom
from the front lines with occasional tantrums and tears
about how breaking rules, blurring boundaries, and tossing tradition can be catalysts for finding your truth.
Let's debunk the fairy tales we were told as children and create a new map for life.
Yes, Disney can go fuck itself.
If you're seeking permission to choose your own path,
freedom is the new F word, people,
and want to feel less alone along the way,
we got you. Please note, this is our side of the story. Our partners and metamors have their own individual experiences, and we do not speak for them. Hi, Janelle.
Hey, Andrea.
And hi, Dãmasa.
Hi, Andrea.
Welcome to Permission to be Human, y'all brave hearts. We are doing something totally new on this episode. We're interviewing our first guest. Dãmasa Doyle is Janelle's templemate. I love that new word. At the Goddess Temple. They both just returned from Burning Man.
You can see the dust on the spirit crowns.
And this was Janelle's 9th Burning Man.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas it was Dãmasa's first Burning Man.
Yes.
And to be clear, I have never been to Burning Man. So I have lots of questions, and I'll be interviewing them about their experience. So we're just going to dive deep into the Burning Man thing. Here we go. Dãmasa.
Yes.
What made you want to go? And were you nervous?
Okay, so my decision to go was based on years ago in 2009. I wanted to go, and then my dad passed away. And my idea of Burning Man was that I was going to be in the desert grieving over my dad around a bunch of drunk and high people on drugs. And I was like, no, I don't think that's a good look for me. And so I decided not to go. But then I met Janelle, and one of the, maybe not the first thing she said to me, but the second thing was
The second thing?
Yeah, we're going to Burning Man. You know we're going to Burning Man.
Oh, yeah. There's no choice, right?
There was no choice.
For sure.
Yeah. So that's pretty much
so
how.
So you weren't nervous, but you said you were concerned.
Yeah.
So you were worried about fitting in?
Not so much fitting in, but almost where is there a place for me, vibrationally. I'm not a big partier, and I also hadn't seen that many Black folks or BIPOC people in the pics. It was just a lot of white women with cornrows and braids.
Love it.
True that. Yeah. I mean, it's true.
Can I say true that?
You would say it.
I would totally say it. So
yeah.
It's okay.
So I was concerned, are there going to be just a bunch of people appropriating culture? And I was kind of hesitant about that.
Yeah.
But then when I got there, people were really lovely, and they welcomed me, and I felt like people's artistic expression and their joy, and they were being really creative and wearing protective hairstyles. And I dig that because that's what we do in my culture.
Wearing protective hairstyles. Okay,
yes.
Interesting connection.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking that I can relate to this as well, because I'm like, oh, is this really for me? Do I really want to party that much? It sounds like a lot of stimulation. And a really big fucking mess and chaos that I really just cannot handle, basically. I mean, this is why I don't camp. I don't mind shitting in the woods. It's the mess and chaos that I cannot stand. And yeah, so you were nervous, but obviously you had Janelle going with you, and she's the perfect person to usher anyone into the Burning Man experience because she's been so many times. So it was good for you. Janelle, do you want to comment on this at all?
Yeah, my comment is that there is still mess and chaos. I was not able to protect
Oh no,
dumb
I'm
stuff
sure.
from that.
I'm sure. There's no, I'm under no illusion that if I go, I'll just have to deal with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you weren't worried about that. Were you worried about kind of it being over, like?
No, I wasn't. I'm ex-military, and I used to work in the hospitality industry, and so for me, wildness, mess, and chaos, and being able to find structure in those spaces has not ever been a problem.
Okay, I was gonna say, what does the military have? How are you like, oh, I was in the military, therefore Burning Man. But I see what you mean. That's really interesting. You know how to make a mess out of...
You made structure.
Make structure. Create structure out of chaos.
Right, and also you need to know what to do. You're out in the elements. How do you handle yourself?
Yeah.
Where do you go to the bathroom? How do you pace yourself? Like all of that was really important, and those are skills. How do you work in a group?
Yeah,
that's really important, to work in a group, but also to be able to take care of yourself. What was it? Self-reliance?
Radical self-reliance.
Okay, yeah, she knows all the principles and all the
yeah, it sort of sounds like an episode of Survivor, though. I'm thinking now too, right? Because you are, I mean, I'm just, the way that you just described it, I'm just like, that's Survivor. In a group, in the elements, gotta figure it out. Obviously, you're not purposely being challenged, but you were challenged, right?
Yes.
Yes, and it was a bougie.
It's very exhaustive bougie.
Bougie Survivor. Like, let's be clear. Like, we were in an RV. We had a bathroom. We were not just in a tent out in the wilderness. It was bougie Survivor.
Totally get that. Okay. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, we also, and this is my first year, we were at Muse Cafe and camp, and we had power. So we actually didn't even have to run a generator. It was so decadent and so
it's like
nice.
glamping. It's glamping.
Glamping, for sure. You're glamping in a harsh environment. That's where the chaos comes from.
Yeah, get it. Okay. So you camped at Muse Cafe. Describe Muse Cafe for me.
It's an incredible female-run camp that honors the feminine and the muse as inspiration. Our main showcase was a cabaret and burlesque show. Again, I think it's a little bit different than Survivor.
Were you in the cabaret and burlesque show? Or?
I was a cocktail server of frozen grapes.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And then what about you? What did you do?
I actually, outside of the fluffing that we did, which was taking care of the people who were building the camp, because the building the camp was not my ministry. And so I was glad to like fluff and make smoothies and make sure everybody ate and felt good and got hosed down and felt cool in the desert heat. And I also was invited to do the invocation at the beginning of the kickoff, which was really nice.
Okay, so a little bit of backstory here. You drove from Denver in an RV. No. And there were three of us. There were you two, Janelle, Dãmasa, and your friend Gabby.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, 3 priestesses.
And it was Gabby's first time as well.
Yes.
So first I have to start this whole like Muse Cafe camp. Like, what do you mean by camp, right? Like, I don't understand what a camp is. I've never been to Burning Man. So like, how many camps are there? How many people are in your camp? Who decided to do the camp? Are you head of the camp? Like, what does camp even mean?
Lots of questions. So Burning Man is a temporary city of 70,000 people. It's actually the 4th largest city in Nevada, the week that it's going on.
Okay.
And so it just makes sense to be in camps. Now, how many camps are there? I don't know, but in the thousands and thousands. Most camp size range from 10 people to like 250 would be a very large camp.
Okay.
Muse Cafe was 70 people.
Do you have to be in a camp?
Nope. You don't have to be in a camp, but I do I think it's an immediate community that you form when you are in one, and you go on the Burning Man website and you could look for camps. At this point, I know enough people who go, so I knew the women who are running this camp. Okay. So it was easy to just apply for it. But you do apply. You apply and you pay dues.
Okay.
For most camps.
Got it. Okay. So I understand that structure. You need a ticket to go to Burning Man, though. Like,
correct.
Right. In addition to this camp. And this the camps are set up just for many people. There's nothing official about it, really.
Correct.
It's a community thing. Okay.
And each one has a theme. Ours was, as I said, like we had a cabaret show and a cafe. Other camps have bars. Other camps are an art car and they drive people around. Like they're very creative.
Mm-hmm.
They could be, they run the gamut of creativity. And so you would join a camp most likely based on what their offering is, because then you're going to be with people who also align with that offering.
Yeah, as far as the camps, like I felt really good in the camp that we were at, but you know, I didn't know how I would fit in because I didn't think the pics of the average person in jeans and t-shirts and bandana were like getting play on social media. Like I didn't see that. I saw the big hats, the sparkly stuff, the little
spirit crowns.
You know, bless them, bless the little women running around half naked. And I was just like, oh, ooh, am I going to even be able to be naked? Or like, is that a thing?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I need the pictures, which is, I think what I'm hearing you say is like, you know, all the pictures you've shown me and all of the many pictures in, for example, the collage bathroom on the other side of this duplex, or all the pictures I've seen, no one is in a tank top and jeans. And so what you're saying is there are people who don't.
Yeah, there were actually, so all the pictures I've seen, everybody was outrageously dressed and glitzy and all of this. For years, that's the image that I had of Burning Man, right? Mm-hmm. And then when I got there, I saw people of all ages. I saw children. And I saw people just in like cut-off jeans, their bandanas, like chilling, doing their thing. And it was really great.
Okay. All right, cool. So I've heard so many things about Burning Man from Janelle and a couple other people I know that go, just a couple. And at one point I really wanted to go. And have since felt like, do I belong there? Is it my people? Like, in your opinion, Dãmasa, like, who belongs at Burning Man?
Yeah, I really think that Burning Man is, honestly, now that I've been, I think that Burning Man is for everybody.
Everybody?
Yeah.
I saw my parents.
Listen, I have a friend. Her name is Shonda, and she won't mind me saying this. She's gone with her parents for the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. And I saw people with kids. Mm-hmm. Somebody even bought a goat. Controversial, but it did happen. I didn't see the goat, but I heard about it.
Okay.
So yeah.
Anyone who wants to go.
Anybody who wants to go and can, you know, adhere to the principles or at least understands them, I think it's really welcome. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what was your intention in going? Like, what did you want to get out of it?
Yeah, so for me, I was really there to be in ritual and to connect with the land and the elements and spend time at the temple, which they built. And like, just the fact that they built a temple and it was gorgeous. But yeah, I wanted to be at the temple and doing priestess shit. I do energy work. I help people move things out of their system. So that was what I gifted when I got there. And that's also one of the principles, is that the system is of giving, of gifting. And I mean, everything is gifted. Yeah. Everything. Yeah. You don't have to buy anything after you get that ticket. Pay those dues. Yeah,
I think it's a common misconception about Burning Man is that I thought it was a trade thing. And you've corrected me that it's just a giving. No, you just give. There's no tit for tat, rather.
Yeah, and the giving could be, you know, I went to see something called Lucence Delcier, which was essentially like a spiritual Cirque du Soleil. Oh. The performance was unbelievable. The costumes were unbelievable. The stage, the lighting, the production value, unbelievable. All a gift. All the people who put that on, I mean, tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars. A gift to those of us who got to see it.
Wow. Okay, so Dãmasa, you also said, like, you love dancing, you love watching the sunrise, like meditating under the stars. So that was part of the vibe too, was just that nature connecting.
Right. Like, that was all there for me. I didn't know that was going to be there for me, but when I got there and I was like, oh my goodness, there's so much space, and I can do all of those things, all the things that I really love. I mean, to really sit under the stars and watch the moon rise is amazing. So that was really my burn, besides the fluffing that we did. so I really believe like whatever your vibe is, you're bound to find it, and unless you're mean, like, yeah, like don't be mean. Mean people, it's not gonna work out. Although I do think that if you are mean, if you go in there and you have a mean spirit, that people are gonna hug you and they're gonna give you things. They're gonna feed you. They're gonna take care of you. They're gonna help you fix your bike, and so you're gonna end up like hugging everyone and feeling super loved by the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
Nice. You're doing so great. Okay. So what did you overestimate?
Oof, I definitely overestimated my ability to navigate the dust because it's super easy. There were like blue skies for the first 4 or 5 days, and then the dust hit, and I finally understood all the prep stuff Janelle insisted that we bring.
Like what?
Like goggles, vinegar and water, what else?
Face masks.
The face masks. Yeah. Like all of that. Like it was really important, like to cover your hair, to cover your mouth. Like at some point you just couldn't even see the person right in front of you.
Oh my God, this is like a whole other element of like, that sounds awful. So you put goggles on, you wear goggles the whole time, the masks the whole, like a lot of the time. Wow. Such a barrier between you and so tell me more. Yeah.
So that's what you would think, right? Because you've not been in it, but we actually had the experience. So the dust only came the night of the temple burn, actually the last night of Burning Man.
Oh.
And then the next day, when we were getting ready to leave. And so I don't know how big the temple structure is, but many stories tall, and think of the size of a very, very large mansion. And that gets burned the last night of Burning Man. And the dust came in, so this huge structure is on fire, and the dust came in so strong, and we couldn't see the fire.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And how far away was that from you, though? I mean,
like, I don't know, 500 feet, something.
Oh, yeah. Got it. You couldn't see the fire.
You couldn't see the fire.
It's a whiteout.
Because it was a whiteout.
Okay.
Exactly. And there's something so powerful to be sitting in the dark, under the stars, in a whiteout condition, not able to see this like other force of nature, fire, in front of you.
Right there.
So there's something very visceral that happens, and then having to navigate our way home in the sand, in the dark, in the whiteout conditions, right? It brings up so many emotions. It brings up fear. It can bring up confusion. It can bring up and yet, I actually said this to Gabby, and she was like, "But what about, I don't know where we are." And I said, "I don't know where we are, but I'm not lost." Because there are signature points to figure out. And so it was just trusting that we were going to find our way home in conditions that were very unusual.
Beautiful. Okay, so what else did you overestimate?
Well, first I want to say to Janelle's point is that there was this feeling, there was a moment of like, am I safe? Right? And where are my people? And luckily we had chimes and bells and things. And so I remember at one point where I didn't see Janelle, but I heard her ringing this bell, and I was like, oh, let me focus on that. Like, I can't see her, but I can hear her. And so we just worked together to keep together, and that created a sense of safety for me.
Beautiful. I never heard about that too.
This was during a ritual that Gabby, Dãmasa, and Sophie Howell of Spirit Crowns did after the temple had burned, when we were walking around. It was so beautiful. Thank you, Sophie, for inspiring that ritual.
It was so beautiful.
I'm just getting such a feeling of having to constantly surrender.
Yeah.
So something that I overestimated was the amount of food that we brought. At the camp, we were in a camp at Muse. They provided dinner, and so everyone was in a pod, and we helped make dinner one night. And then they actually also provided snacks. But we brought so much food with us, so much food. We came home, it felt like as much food as we brought.
Yeah.
And last year I free camped, so I had to provide all my own meals and everything else, and it was different. So somehow and there's so many camps giving away food, right? We were gifted peaches, and we were gifted pickles, and we were gifted grilled cheese and waffles, and so waffles with pork belly.
Nice. So good. It was so good. Bless you. Whoever gave me that, bless you for the rest of your years and all your lineage.
Pork belly and waffle. So you had too much food?
Yes.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, so that was an overestimation.
Okay, back to you, Dãmasa.
Okay, so I totally overestimated. I knew there was going to be art and art installations, and I thought it was going to be sprinkled around. There were actually 350 about art installations over, what was the distance?
It's 2 mile
2 mile
circumference.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I overestimated being able to visit all the art. And I really got to see about 5% of that 350 because it was so far. It was so far. And also it was very confusing. I got lost a lot.
Yeah, right. To keep track of where you are. And so did you just not stray very far from where you were? And did you have bikes?
Okay, so, all right.
Every question's like,
this is funny. Well, because I did not have a bike. And so Janelle has an e-bike. And she was like, I was like, oh, do I need to get an e-bike? Because I don't want to be left in the dust, like literally. And so then she's like, no, it's really better, the bike, the regular bike, a pedal bike, to have it, it's going to be great. Let me just tell you something.
I heard her say that to you in the house.
Right.
I always actually hear when you asked about it. You're like, do you think I need an e-bike? And you're like, no, it's fine if you... Okay. I don't even know what's going to happen here, but can't wait. What's next? What happened?
Yeah. Oh my God. It was like, just imagine trying to ride a pedal bike with dust, like waves of dust, totally. Drifts of dust. And sometimes it was just so hard. And I just at one point wanted to throw the bike down and kick it and leave it there because I was just like, oh my God, this is so much. But I figured it out. And then at one point I couldn't bike because I danced too much and kind of had a swollen knee. And so then Janelle had to ride me on the back of her e-bike. Oh. Which was actually very satisfying.
Oh, I bet. You're just like, oh.
Yeah. I was like, now you have to take care of me.
Leaving my pedal bike behind.
Right.
Wait, so why? Yeah, I guess do you have anything to say about that, Janelle?
Yeah, I don't know what the ratio is now, but e-bikes are relatively new at Burning Man. Okay. I've only had one last year. It was my first year.
Yeah.
Memphis gifted it to me. And so there's also challenges. An e-bike has to be charged. If something breaks on it, I mean, there's a lot more complications to it.
Yeah.
But I will also say I underestimate the fact that I was a professional cyclist for 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
Hello.
So, pedal biking for me is actually very easy and very enjoyable. And for people who haven't spent that much time on a bike, I can see that it's not.
I'm so glad that you're doing this first, right? Because I am also, really not a biker. And
yes.
So I will settle for nothing less than an e-bike. Or, I don't know, I'm going to get one of those, but yeah. Okay, got it, noted. So you biked, I guess my original question was, that's the bike story. So did you go far from your camp? Well, you did several times, but you said you just couldn't see all the art. But that's fine.
It's just so spread out.
Right.
So just to bike, like a pedal bike, if you bike all the way out to the farthest piece of art, it could take you 30 to 40 minutes.
Got it. Okay.
Right.
So it's just
getting to one thing could take that long.
Gotcha. Okay. So what else did you, I think Dãmasa said something about, or I'm sorry, Janelle, you want to talk about clothes?
Yes. So another thing that I overestimated this year was that I've always, I just take my entire closet and at this point now from my home and then put it into the bins and take it to the burn. There is really no difference between what I wear every day and then what I wear at Burning Man. But this year I had this vision that for my hair protection, I was going to put in gray hair. So I went with ombre gray to white hair and had the vision that I should be wearing white, which I've never worn at Burning Man. I don't wear a lot of white here. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm really struggling. I don't have a lot of white clothes, but I've gotten this vision that I'm supposed to be wearing white. But I was like, okay, well, maybe I'm just gonna, at times, be like really calling in that archetype of like the wise medicine woman, elder, crone, and I'll be wearing my other clothes. As it turned out, I was actually in that archetype the whole time. I was called to wear white almost every day, all the time. And so I had to repeat, I just wore the same clothes again and again. I wore the spirit crown like 4 days in a row, which is not how I usually do it. So in the end, I needed like 3 outfits in a spirit crown. It was so simple.
The simplicity is so appealing.
Yes. Yeah. And it was really fun being in that archetype.
Yeah, the overestimation that I had that actually made me feel a little bit sad was like people honoring the Paiute Tribe's culture and history. We're giving talks about the history and culture of the land. I really thought that there would be more ability to connect with and interact and learn from the people who have been caretakers of that land for the past 10,000 years. And so I signed up for some workshops that spoke about the histories, like the history and culture of Black Rock City. And the indigenous culture was missing from that. And so that made me really sad. However, it also gave me an opportunity to speak up about it and say, hey, what about the people who live here? What about the history of the elders and the native people of this land? And what was really lovely was that there were other people in the group who were there also in the workshop who, it was more like a talk, and they actually were like, yeah, what about that? Like, we've been coming here and we really want to know. We want to know about the culture of the land before the immigrants came over and took over the land. And so it's interesting because there's this opportunity. I got what I kind of got a sense of, wow, if I had not gone to Burning Man, then my voice would have been missing from that conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to speak about that. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing, you were like a needed voice at Burning Man to make sure that the message about the history is spread.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. This is so exciting. And there's such a blend here.
The same day of that talk, she went to a couple of others, what else came to you on that day?
I think you're talking about after the talk?
Yeah, when you got your name.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So a couple of things happened. After I left the talk a little bit early because I really, I was just like, okay, I'm complete. And I left and I still was feeling that sadness and frustration. And I went and I heard somebody playing the saxophone and like these like Afro beats, and I was like, what? And I look and there's like a DJ with a saxophone. And I started dancing, and it was so good because I was just really just dancing. And then after that, I went to this other workshop about hugging because it's called heart-to-heart hugging. And so I was like, I want to learn about heart-to-heart hugging. And while I was there, I was gifted with my Playa name, which I'd heard about because Janelle has a Playa name. And other people have a Playa name that Janelle knows. And so they were like, you can't make it up yourself. It has to be given to you. And so there was a man who was running the workshop. And because of something I spoke about relationships and relating and how women actually have orgasms and how they might cry and laugh during the orgasm, and that's part of the wave.
The wave was part of the wave.
The wave of an orgasm,
yes,
if you
totally,
allow it. And afterwards, he was like, "Thank you so much. I'm the person who helps people find their Playa names, and so I would like to bestow on you the name of gift. Dun, like cue the lights and the sparkles.
Oh
and I
my
was
gosh.
like, oh my God, I got a Playa name. And so by using my voice, I got a Playa name. And so my Burning Man Playa name is gift.
Wow.
Yeah.
You were bestowed with your name right after, and this was after you spoke up?
Mm-hmm. This was that day.
Oh, so tied.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, so I missed the part about like, what does this have to do with the crying and the laughing and the orgasm?
Okay, because he was hugging a woman, and she laughed during the hug, and he said, "Okay, guys, I just want you to know," it was mostly guys. It was me and this other woman there, and then like 10 guys. Guys, I just want you to know that, you know, don't feel bad when a woman laughs. Like sometimes it could be that she is feeling a little bit insecure, or she's had trauma, or something's happened in her life. And I was like, excuse me, sir, may I share? And he was like, yeah. And I said, I just want to let you know that I actually laugh like a maniac during sex. And he was like, oh. And I was like, and it's not because of trauma. It's actually because I'm in my joy, and that's my way of expressing joy. And that when a woman is in an orgasmic state, any emotion can come up, right? Mm-hmm. It can also be tears. It could be tears of joy. It could be sadness for the release. It could be anything. But I said, all of it should be welcome. Mm-hmm. And if a man would just take the time, hold the woman's heart, and just be with her and allow her to feel these emotions and these waves, then he's going to have a really good time. And it's also saying that that she's feeling comfortable enough to actually release and be in the fullness of her orgasm instead of blocking her emotions.
Beautiful. Okay, thank you for explaining that. Like, I know, Janelle, that you're a laugher, right? I mean, I don't know. Like, I haven't seen you orgasm that many times. I didn't mean for that to be the funny part, but true. Like, maybe a couple times, but I'm thinking you're a laugher, right? Because you're usually laughing. You laugh when, like, you laugh and shake.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm more of a crier these days.
Oh, well, I was just, interesting. Because I was just thinking, I'm like, oh, that is so fucking typical. You laugh and I cry. Okay. I'm like, oh, there is that huge contrast there, right? Mm-hmm. But it's all a release. And we've talked about this many times on the podcast too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is just, and I love that that's what you stood up and been like, hello, that's not always about trauma. Right. That's about women expressing the wave of how they're feeling. Right. Which is always totally allowed. Yes. So, all right.
And so this is Burning Man. This is a random moment with a random group of people. This gets to be the conversation. Permission is given by a stranger speaking her truth.
Yes, completely. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to talk now a little bit about what you underestimated.
Okay. All right. So, also, by the way, I also sing when I orgasm. It's a new thing, but I love doing it. Yeah. And it's great.
That's a good idea.
My partner is there. I'm like, just hold on. Just hold on to me. Let me just get it in there. Yeah. Okay.
Love it.
Underestimate. Okay. Oh my goodness. I underestimated the distance between the damn Port-a-pottys and deep playa. And deep playa is when you're way out there and there's no Port-a-pottys. And you want to see that extra piece of art, or you hear music and you're like, what's that? Or something shimmering and shiny in the distance. And you're like, oh my God, I want to go see that. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness, I have a little more energy on this fucking pedal bike. And then your bladder is like, hello. Yeah. No, you need to go back. You need to go back to your RV and find a porta potty because you are not going to make it.
So something that I underestimated was the ease of my living situation and what that meant. Being with two sisters, Dãmasa and Gabby, who were totally capable in handling the environment that even though they had never been there before,
Yeah.
that they like took on every experience with joy, and that we had power at our camp for RV. It was totally decadent and easeful. And what that meant was that all of my energy then was spent towards being in service, gifting through ritual or through a sacred ceremony, and through hugs or joy or laughter and my presence. And so I just felt so much more resourced. I underestimated the amount of resourcing I would feel that my living situation was so easeful and fun.
Great.
Yeah, I would say ditto, like everything Janelle just said. There was, for me, I really underestimated the amount of joy and fun and excitement and freedom that I would feel out there. I felt, when they burned the man, I actually felt like a little kid. Like I was like, oh my God, oh my God. I was shrieking and clapping, and I was like a toddler who was like, saw their first like fireworks. It was amazing. It just really expanded my child energy. And really, it was like on tap for so much of the time. Yeah.
Like the only thing more joyful than you, Dãmasa, right now is watching Janelle watch you. She's just like so happy. She's like a proud parent. She's like, see what I did? See what I did? It's so adorable. Both your like big white like teeth, like you both have these huge smiles. Like it's really something. It's really something, honor to witness.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like she got her kid to eat Brussels sprouts.
Yeah, I mean,
because I was like, I don't know.
I don't think so. I'm not sure about that. Yeah, you were saying you're not sure.
No.
Even up to the point. And I hadn't really talked to you about it, so I didn't know that.
Yeah, I wanted to pull out. Yeah.
Yeah, you said you were hoping. You're like, maybe something won't happen.
Right.
Yeah. So that's how I'm going to be too. So what is Playa Magic, and what were some of your experiences of the Playa Magic?
So Playa Magic for me is when things align in a way that seems almost impossible. And so one of the things that was really great is that I went out to see an art piece, and I just happened to have just had a conversation with some other people about our grandmothers or whatever, and that was like magical. And then I go out and I see this square, and I go inside the square not knowing what to find, and I find a shaman singing Peruvian icaros and doing limpias, which are energetic clearings and cleansings. And so for me, this was magical because I was like, oh my God, I found my people, as I'd just been in the jungle of Peru.
Oh.
And I was taught and encouraged by my shaman, his name is Hilmer, to sing icaros. So I was sitting there watching this man do cleansings and clearings, and I started singing icaros. And it was like, when I asked anybody else around me, like later on, like, oh, have you been there? Like, was the man in there? And they were like, no, there was no man. There was no man singing icaros. There was no man doing cleansings. And I was like, oh my goodness, I got to experience that moment of that man being there exactly when I showed up. That was magical.
That's the Playa Magic.
Yeah.
What about you?
Many moments of Playa Magic. The two that I'll speak to happened within an hour of each other, which was that Zaya and I, my spirit stepson, we were actually at the same camp together. This is a very family, Orion family Burning Man. Mm-hmm. We celebrated Orion family Christmas. We celebrated sunrise together. And on the night of sunrise, I had committed to Zaya that we were going to meet at this one camp called Mystic at sunrise. But everyone that I was with had decided to go home at like 3 a.m. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know how I was going to meet him, but I was in complete trust that I would. And I also decided that even if he had gone to bed, I was committed to like doing what I said I was going to do, which is stay up till sunrise. Mm. So I was on this 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., wandering the playa by myself journey, finding magical moments along the way. But then was like, okay, what am I supposed to do now? And I was called to the temple, and I had my chimes on me. And so I biked on my e-bike to the temple. It's probably 4:30-ish a.m. and just started doing blessings with my chimes. And then after about 20 minutes or so, or half an hour, I get a tap on my shoulder, and I turn around, and there is Zaya and Rachel and Memphis and Cassie.
Oh my gosh.
They just found me, and it was just like my joy was like, what? And I was but I was also like, of course that's what happened. Mm-hmm. So we then go back to Memphis's RV, get warm, get more clothes, to go all the way out to Sunrise, to the trash fence for Sunrise. We get out to the trash fence, and all of a sudden, I look over here, permission, and I look over, and I see this being walking, not on a bike, covered in blankets, and it's Dãmasa. Oh. And she had decided somehow not to go to bed, and hitched a ride on an art car, came out, didn't think she was going to find me, but
it's just like, oh, well, I'm good.
So
oh my God.
We ended up finding each other for Sunrise. It was wild.
That is so
It was one of the most exciting moments, because I was like the guy who dropped me off. He was like, oh, are you going to be able to get back? And I was like, oh, I'll be fine. And I was thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be walking for 2 hours. I was like, I'll figure it out. And then I was like, oh, I wonder where Janelle is. And I was like, I could go in this direction or that direction towards the temple. And so I chose to turn slightly to go to face the temple. And just as I turned in that direction, by the way, in the middle of the desert, so it's not a block or there's no sign.
Yeah, I know.
I was just like, I think the temple's that way. I turned slightly, and then I'm like, I thought it was a mirage. Like, what the fuck? Oh my God.
Like you thought it was an oasis.
I thought it was fake. I was like, I'm tired.
Right.
My knee hurts. I'm out here by myself. I might be a little hungry and thirsty. And I was just like,
you're seeing visions.
Oh my goodness. And I start screaming and hobbling towards them like,
oh
my God, permission. And so it was the best. It was the best.
Yeah. So Playa Magic.
Wow, Playa Magic. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You guys are really, this is the most I've talked about Burning Man probably ever.
Yeah. All right, well now the last question, Andrea, is for you. Now that you've listened to what we've said and to our impressions, I've heard you say you were interested, now you're not interested. How are you feeling right now?
I'll just say I have gone through a little couple waves here as I've been listening to you. One that I am that I've had some kind of a regression that I am not in the magic right now. That's okay. It happens, right? We come around to the same side of the mountain. I've been here before. I feel like, all of the people that are there who are finding the magic know themselves and know how to take care of themselves and have really good boundaries. That's what kept coming to me. It was like knowing, and I don't know, that may not be true for you guys, but for me, it's like, you have to know who you are, where you want to go, when to say no thanks. Oh, yes, I'm in. When to think, I think I'm going to find my way back to the RV. No, I think I'm not going to find my way back to the RV. And just trust, right? Even if you don't know for sure, you have a feeling, you're following an intuition, and you're trusting. So it feels like, and I think that is something I constantly struggle with. It's like, okay, no, I just have to trust. I believe that the most, and I also struggle with it the most, and it's fairly normal, but still, you have to just keep trusting. So I can see myself just being like, okay, it's great. Okay, it's great. Just constantly when I'm at Burning Man. And I'm like, oh, can I do it? Can I go and be okay with the goggles and I know what it's like to be like, no, that's going to be too hard because, right? And I also know what it's like to like, no, it's going to be fine because I'll make it fine. So I see the dichotomy and the like hitting my edge and also finding so much bliss and freedom and love and magic when coming to that edge. But it's really hard for me. Like, so I'm just that's what I'm getting the most out of. And like, wow, yeah, that sounds amazing. So, I mean, I feel like I'm reintroduced to it in a way. Yeah, I'll stop talking for a minute. What do you guys want to say?
I was just going to say, like, first of all, this woman speaks for me because that's where I was at. I was like, I don't know if I want to deal with this. I don't know if I'm going to, like, have the energetics, all these people, all of this, like, energy.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is true. It's trust. It's really just a trust. A trust that if what you need to do is stay near your camp and enjoy what's around there, then that's fine. And a trust that if you want to venture out and go and see the great beyond, where there's no Port-a-pottys, that's fine too.
Mm-hmm.
A trust that if you want to do plant medicine journey, or you just want to dance a little bit and like take workshops, that is all exactly what it's supposed to be. Like what you find is what you need. That's what I didn't know, and that's what I know now. And I'm resisting the urge to be like Janelle, who was like, no, you're gonna love it. It's gonna be great. Because now I feel like that. I've been drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm just saying.
Okay. No, I really, it's been really beautiful to hear this whole thing, and I hear all of your just the trust that you had, right? Dãmasa going in and being like, okay, okay, you know, and just again and again. It's a terrible time. It's when school starts every fucking year. So I've always been like, okay, I'll just have to wait until my daughter is like, you know, which is fine until she's not in school. Right. But yeah, that's a logistic.
That's what I did though.
Yeah.
Yeah, my youngest just is going off to college now, so he's finished, so I could go.
Yeah, that's what it kind of maybe that's when it'll be the right time to go. I'll know when it's the right time to go. I feel like as well if I stay open to it. One more thing I wanted to mention was that when I did my introduction on a women's circle that I joined recently, I said one of the ways I describe myself is that I am all about meeting strangers. Like, I like a nice magical stranger, and I typically meet a magical stranger on a regular basis. That's just like what happens for me. I love it. It's just like reinforces my belief of good in the world, and it's just such a delight. And it feels like, I mean, Burning Man is like the land of magical strangers. How could I not go? Like, this is my thing. So, yeah, it feels very aligned in that way.
The one thing I wanted to say was to acknowledge the range of socioeconomic structures that are present before people get to Burning Man. And I want to acknowledge that I received a ticket that was a reduced price because that's what I could afford, and that the Burning Man corporation, I don't know what they're called, org, like made that available, which I think is really important. And also we were at Camp Muse, who actually gave 4 kind of scholarships to artists so that they could come and they didn't have to pay the dues and all of that. And so there's a lot of privilege there. I saw a lot of privileged people with decked out RVs, like beyond what you could even imagine. And I also saw a lot of people who were just like, had saved up. I had heard stories of people who had saved up so that they could go. And so I love that the organization, they also offered tickets for free to some of the people in the Paiute Tribe so that they can have this experience that's happening on their land. And I think that's really, really, really important.
Okay, thank you for mentioning that too. The cost is significant as well. And that is something that, feels like it's an investment. Wow. Okay, so this has been our first guest episode for Permission to be Human. Thank you, Bravehearts, for listening. We love you. Remember, we have Braveheart Conversations once a month. Please check it out. permissiontobehuman.live/events. Follow us on Instagram and stay tuned because you never know what's coming next. We love you.
And thank you, Dãmasa, for being my templemate and my Burning Man RV buddy, and for being our first guest.
It really was such a pleasure. You guys are a hoot. I like it here.
Thank you so much. Bye. Do you need permission to be human? You got it. Listen, subscribe, and review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Learn more about us at permissiontobehuman.live.